The voice of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
Hello and welcome back to Durian ASEAN. You're still with Gowri and Arlene.
Hey.
And we're moving on to our ABC dialogue now.
Yeah.
Which is about pandas today. We're talking about the
I love
panda
pandas. So
diplomacy.
cute and cuddly.
I don't like pandas.
So today's topic is about panda diplomacy.
Yeah, because as we all know, we received 2 pandas last week from China. And a lot of people think that, oh, we got pandas now. They're so cute. But they don't know that there's actually a backstory to this whole panda diplomacy thing.
Yeah, and I mean, in social media, there's just too many people, writing about, panda. Other they say that, oh, panda is cute. And some people would say that, oh, why we want to take care of panda is so costly.
Yeah,
or
it's expensive.
And some people would say that we have so many poor homeless people out there and all you care about is 2 pandas. But there are also some people that is wise enough to see that China loaning Malaysia a 10-year loan of 2 pandas is not just a cute, cuddly gesture from China, but it's something more heavier than that.
This is actually a practice that existed as far back as the Tang Dynasty. 625 to 705, when they sent a pair of pandas to the Japanese emperor.
So, in a sense, it's a tradition where the Chinese government, or at that time during the Tang Dynasty, it's a way for them to say that, hey, we want to be friends with you, we want to have diplomatic relations with you.
Yeah, exactly. And apart from the Tang Dynasty, the People's Republic of China revived it in the 1950s and has become known in recent decades for this practice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a way for China to show to the world that, or to certain countries that they are interested to form long-term relationship with that particular country, and they don't see that particular country a threat to them, or at least not at that particular moment.
So, do you know that we actually signed this deal with China back in 2012? And the pandas were supposed to arrive in April, but China delayed it because of the MH370 incident.
Yeah, and the MH370 incident really affected the relationship between Malaysia and China, and a lot of Chinese people condemn Malaysia for not being able to be effective in their search and rescue and also their investigation. And in essence, they just see us as a country that they do not want to be associated with.
Right.
So I think the panda came at a very crucial time in that sense to form a stronger diplomatic relations.
Exactly, and that also the purpose of delaying the pandas' arrival in Malaysia was to voice their dissatisfaction over how our government was handling the MH370 issue.
So interestingly, I mean, the panda diplomacy, why panda? I mean, the interesting question is why panda, and why not other animals, and why animals in this sense?
I think pandas they're not very common, as we all know, and
in fact, in the entire China, panda is only found in one particular area.
Yeah, in the Sichuan province, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, for the whole of China, which is the size of almost the whole population, half of the population, 1 billion, but it's only found in a very small provincial in China, and because of that, panda is seen as an animal that is very I would say
Very,
exotic.
rare.
Yeah, very rare and
exotic.
exotic in a way.
So I have this quote here by Kathleen Buckingham, who is a student at the University of Oxford. She said, pandas aren't exactly the ideal zoo animals, but good for China if they are seen that way. And I have to agree with her personally. I don't know why. I don't find pandas fascinating. I know that you beg to differ, but I think it's good for China that a lot of people around the world actually think that, oh, pandas are adorable and they're exotic and they're so special, they're so rare. I wanna see the pandas.
Yeah, they are rare. In fact, they have a very special diet. They only eat certain bamboo shoots, and it's not easy to take care of pandas. To be very frank, so when a country is being given or being loaned two pandas, meaning that the country have to take care the panda very very nicely or not, it would seem that the whole country itself do not respect in the diplomatic relations with China.
Yeah, I think we're actually currently in the middle of recruiting people to train them to become experts in handling pandas.
That's a good sign.
So there are three phases to this panda diplomacy. The first one, as we all know, like we mentioned earlier, it dates back to the Tang Dynasty. And it's when the Emperor Mao gave the pandas as goodwill gifts to Russia, which was an ally of China at that time. And back then, they just gave it out as gifts. That it was not a loan to any country that they look at as a friend. They think that they could have a good relationship with the country. They could be an ally, and they would just give the pandas as a present to the country. But then moving on to the second phase, the pandas, they started entering the endangered zone in 1984. So since then, they cannot exactly give out pandas anymore because they're becoming extinct, they're becoming endangered, and they've become even more of an asset to the Chinese government. So they shifted the gift to rent a panda strategy.
Yeah, the 10-year loan. I think it's a great move. I mean, in a way, it's also. I mean, I'm looking at the way of the panda themselves. It's good. It creates awareness on the existence of panda as an animal, and because you need to take extra careful attention towards the animal panda. So in a sense, every country that were given the loaning of the panda would definitely learn more about that animal and learn to care more, put more attention about caring of animal. And I mean, it's for the public to view the panda as well. So public would be able to have more experience, seeing a panda. I mean, take for example of me. I took all the way to China just to see panda.
No way.
Yeah, yes, I did.
When was this?
It was back in last year and also a couple of years back. Although I didn't get the opportunity, but because, I mean, panda is a very rare animal, and you don't really have the opportunity to view it, in public. So for the two pandas to come all the way to Malaysia, I think it's a good sign. This for people like me.
But they're not that cute anyway. So in exchange of renting this panda, the countries actually have to pay China a certain amount of money. So it can go up to $50,000 to $100,000 a month. So this in exchange actually helps the Chinese government to increase their revenue in a way.
I guess this is where some quarters of Malaysian society may not agree with having the panda here, because the cost might be too high for the government. Like, why can't you use the cost of taking care of a panda to actually give money to the homeless or create certain welfare program and all that?
I think that has a certain truth to it, because as much as our relationship with China is important, I think our citizens should be given the priority first, because like you said, it's true that there are still a lot of homeless people in Malaysia. There are still very poor people who are deprived of their very basic rights. They don't have access to clean water, clean electricity, kids who cannot afford to go to school. So I guess when these people watch the news and see the amount of money the government is spending on two bears,
well, for record, this panda will be staying at our zoo Negara. So in that sense, I want to beg to differ because I have been reading quite a number of reports saying that our zoo negara is in poor maintenance. So I'm just wondering, like, with the two pandas coming and living, taking residence in the zoo negara, would the zoo negara maintenance be improved, or would it be the same, and would it jeopardize the health of the two pandas?
I think that maybe the conditions won't change, except that they will just be giving more attention to the pandas because they are like the main attraction now, especially for people like you. So, well, like you also mentioned about the tapir earlier.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they are also an endangered species in Malaysia, and
they happen to be black and white as well.
yeah, but nothing much is really being done about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, the tapir is at the verge of extinction in Malaysia, and the animal itself is not being given as much attention compared to the two pandas. But interestingly, the government is considering to give the two tapirs for loaning to China.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess I read that in Utusan, Malaysia, actually, and I guess in that sense, I mean, it's good for the tapir. At least people in China know that there's an animal called tapir, but at the same time, it's a way for the government to highlight, the need to conserve tapirs in Malaysia. But interestingly also, I mean, if you look at the symbolism of using animal for Malaysia to loan to other countries, I think much more probability is Malaysia is following the footstep of China in terms of trying to extend their diplomatic relations using animals. So I can see a trend, building up here. We might probably give tapirs to other countries as well if we find these countries to be on par with our interests and our needs.
So I think these are pandas being sent to Malaysia, and also they sent a couple of pandas to Singapore, and this happened about the same time that the ASEAN and China free trade agreement was signed. So I guess that was as a symbol of saying that yes, we signed this agreement and we would like to go through with it. So take these pandas in exchange for our word, for our promise. And they're also recently planning to loan pandas to France and Australia because these two countries are the major players now in the nuclear world. And
so there's a deeper, I would say, geopolitical strategy here. For it's not just two cute, cuddly panda for the public to look at it, in zoo negara. I think there's a deeper meaning to it. We will take a couple of minutes of break. In return, we will explain more about what are the geopolitical strategy that China might have towards Malaysia in return for the two pandas.
Yeah, okay, stay tuned.
The voice of sharing Durian ASEAN.
Hey, welcome back again. This is Arlene and Gowri.
Hello.
We are going to continue our talk today on panda diplomacy. So, talking about the history of panda diplomacy throughout the years, if you're talking about in modern times, China has been very strategic, like you mentioned earlier, with Singapore and with other countries, has been very strategic on who and when to loan their pandas.
Yeah, exactly. It goes according to their interest, like I said earlier.
Especially geopolitical interests and economic interests.
And also because France and Australia are actually growing in the nuclear area, and China is also looking to expand its nuclear projects. So that's one of the reasons why they loan pandas to France and Australia.
Interestingly, in fact, in the past, when China started to open up their doors towards other countries back in the days, in the 70s, the Chinese government loaned their panda or performed their panda diplomacy to the United States in 1972 after President Richard Nixon's historic visit to China. And in fact, President Nixon reciprocated by sending back a pair of musk oxen. So that's interesting. Upon the arrival of the panda's arrival in 1972, the First Lady Pat Nixon even donated the pandas to the National Zoo in Washington, and there's even a ceremony to welcome them.
An official ceremony for the pandas.
So I mean, prior to that, China and the US wasn't the best of friends. I mean, ideologically, they were still quite divided in terms of a socialist or communistic ideology and also the capitalistic ideology on the US side. So in 1972, the panda diplomacy sort of strengthened the relationship between both countries for the betterment of both countries as well. And also, another highlight is in Japan, where the Chinese actually loaned the panda to Japan back in May 2008. The reason is because this is just for popular support. This is stated that giant pandas are very popular among Japanese, and they are also a symbol of friendly ties between Japan and China. So, in that sense, loaning of panda is a very important diplomatic symbols for both countries, in fact.
And do you know that they can also take the pandas back anytime if they're not happy with the country that they loaned it to?
Interesting. Did it happen before?
It happened with the US, actually, when the Chinese government warned Obama not to visit Dalai Lama because they were not happy about that, and they told him that if you visit Dalai Lama, it will stress our relations, the US-Chinese relations. But Obama did it anyway. He went to visit Dalai Lama. So the pandas were actually taken back to China immediately after his visit. And that is also to remind the US that its most popular zoo attraction is only there because of China's generosity, actually.
I see. Interesting. About Malaysia, I mean, there's a lot of reason why China choose Malaysia to be the country for them to loan the two pandas. But to me, I think the deeper reason is, I think it has to do with the geopolitical situation that is happening around the Southeast Asia region, as well as economic interest between both parties. As we discussed earlier during the break, Malaysia is China's largest trade partners, and this is important for Malaysia to maintain the status quo, considering that Malaysia's economic depend a lot on China.
Yeah, I think it's also because Malaysia is one of the countries in Southeast Asia that maybe right now have a pretty good relationship with China. Well, it was pretty strained during the MH370 incident. But apart from that, we have a good relationship with the Chinese government. And it could also be a way of China maybe telling Philippines and Vietnam, like, look, you guys want to mess with us, you don't get pandas. Malaysia gets the pandas, I think.
I think China wants to gain their presence, especially their power within the Southeast Asia region. And when I say power, it's not necessarily hard power. It can be soft power. And with the recent maritime disputes in the South China Sea and also the ongoing battle for the Spratly Islands, it seems to be the China's soft power within the Southeast Asia region has went down quite a lot. And a lot of countries, especially people from Southeast Asia, express their dissatisfaction towards China's hawkish, like we mentioned earlier during the news commentary, their hawkish move towards the Southeast Asian region. And to continue back, why Malaysia in that sense? Because I think in terms of diplomatic relations, Malaysia could be the friendliest among all Southeast Asian countries.
Yeah, but that could be also because we actually need China because they're our biggest trade partner right now, like you mentioned earlier. So it actually benefits us to have a good relationship with China. So maybe that's one of the reasons why receiving the panda was important in the first place.
Yeah, Malaysia already have a good relationship with the US, considering Obama came to Malaysia instead of other Southeast Asian countries, besides, of course, Philippines.
Right.
And it shows that both superpower, China and also the US, want to exert their importance in Southeast Asia through Malaysia, it seems so.
So to look at it as what you call in other countries as well, like they've made offers to loan pandas to Taiwan, but Taiwan actually were pretty reluctant to accept, mostly because of the climate issue over there. But it could also be underlying reasons, because climate can always be adapted. Like Malaysia is not suitable for pandas as well, but we are actually...
You can always create a special cage for pandas.
We are actually going through all the trouble to build...
I think there's another reason for it, and I don't think it's about practicality, but it's more about their diplomatic relations with China. Considering Taiwan is seen as part of China in China's eyes, but Taiwan itself, they want to remain an independent state. So I guess they have a love-hate relationship in terms of the political relationship between China and also Taiwan.
Yeah, and it seems that the Taiwan president stated his reason as he wants the Chinese leaders to leave the giant pandas in their natural habitat, because pandas brought up in cages or given as gifts will not be happy. So I think this is also another interesting point to be brought up, because these poor pandas are being shoved all over the world. Obviously, they don't get to have a say in this.
Obviously.
They don't get to decide. And they are solely under the Chinese government, and they just get pushed all around the world, to Malaysia, to Singapore, to the US even, which is kind of really far, I think, for the panda to be traveling.
You make a very good point. I think when they raise that point, actually what they are raising is having a zoo as the environment, as a superficial environment for animals, is actually not healthy for the animals themselves. They should be remain in their natural habitat. So, there are some people that have started to voice out their feeling against the idea of having zoo, especially in the urban areas, especially in the situation where they are not being well kept.
I think the safari concept is probably more suitable for viewing wild animals, because you still get to see them and they're still there in their natural habitat, and you see them as they are. They're not cooped up, they're not limited by the confines of the cage where they're placed in. But also, if you see in the late 2000s, in 2008, when an earthquake hit China, 70% of their natural habitat was actually destroyed. So maybe in a way it's good for the pandas that they start sending them out instead. But maybe they themselves in China could spend the money and try to create something natural like for the pandas instead of giving them away.
And panda themselves are also a very... They have their own personality and character. Not every panda is the same. They are exactly like humans.
Right.
Like, for example, I was in Singapore last year visiting two pandas.
Okay.
The two pandas in the
How
Singapore
many places have you gone to see pandas?
Well, let's just say in Singapore, the two pandas have their own characteristic. One panda, one panda loves to just roam around the outdoors and just display itself in front of the public. But another one, it prefers to stay in the cage, away from the view of the public. So.
And I also read that some pandas can get really aggressive and they can even kill each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, panda are not your typical cuddly bears, even though they look so.
Even though they look lazy and chill, they're just lying around. But they can get really aggressive when provoked.
Mm-hmm. And panda is also facing extinction because it's not a very sexually active animal.
Right, that's another...
So it doesn't really procreate that as fast compared to other animals. So, I mean, that's also one of the reasons why panda is at the verge of extinction and needs to be sort of artificially being
to reproduce.
To reproduce again, yeah.
That's sad. I mean, I know they can get lazy, but I thought mating is a natural part of living whether with humans or animals. So
well, that's the thing, because panda has its own attitude and characteristic, and also it spends most of its time eating bamboo shoots and all that. So it doesn't. I mean, mating is the last thing on its mind. I think on panda's mind.
I think the pandas also probably know that they're superstars, maybe, that all these people are coming to see them. So they're just like divas sitting around and like, yeah, whatever, you humans.
Well, I guess you understand the panda better than me. So, what else that we should talk about in terms of pandas? Well, the interesting part of panda in Malaysia, I think, would be, I want to see like how much of attention and maintenance that the Malaysian authority will give towards the panda, because just a couple of days ago, the Prime Minister actually visited the zoo and sort of like welcome in a way, or paying their attention, his attention towards the giant pandas itself, including some other ministers as well went there. So I'm interested to know, like, will the panda be having the same fate as tapirs, or would they actually be well kept for the next 10 years? 10 years is a long time, I think.
It is a very long time, and they just got here, so and they're still being kept in this special confined space for now, and I think they're working on building a more suitable and natural habitat like for the pandas, and also training experts to handle them. So I guess we have to give it some time to see whether we are really capable of handling the pandas and taking care of them.
And one thing good about soft power is it is, unlike hard power, it's very hard for you to make a decision, especially geopolitical decision and also economic decision, when you have two cute and cuddly pandas
And lazy.
At your care. And I'm talking in regards to Malaysia, with the heightens of the maritime disputes in South China Sea, and with ASEAN needing a more authoritative measure towards China. I'm not sure how strong Malaysia can be in terms of decision making towards the particular issue on the maritime dispute.
And also, I think they're actually trying to rename the panda. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, definitely. In fact, in social media, there's a lot of people suggesting like funny names towards the panda. Some of them even name that cartoon character Upin and Ipin.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to know their new Malaysian names.
And also, I think with the pandas being here, that it might step up the level, the standards of our zoo, but we don't know if that is actually possible, because well, we know that Malaysians don't really have like the reputation for being.
Well, in this case, they have to. I mean, China has been very strategic in its diplomatic relations, and the same goes with Malaysia as well. So, in this sense, panda is a very, very important symbol in terms of trying to show that we will maintain our good relationship with China. And I mean, this is not the first time China has used panda diplomacy. In fact, they are even looking at strengthening their trade deal with the EU, European Union, via their panda diplomacy, which is quite interesting. It's still developing and seems like it is something that China will use as their future soft power.
I think it has been working since the past up until now. Every time they loan the pandas, it actually benefits the country that gets the panda in terms of visitors to the zoo, which in turn increases the revenue of the country. So it's also China's way of actually meddling in the affairs of the country without actually being there.
In fact, Europe is China's most important trading partner. So, I mean, Europe's economy and market is large, and China definitely want to capitalize on that. So, using a soft power like panda is definitely a very strategic move.
So, I think the government has allocated 60 million ringgit for the pandas Feng and Fu. I think that's what their names are. And like I said earlier, the animal's cute reputation is not always reflected. They can get really angry. They are also quoted here as being mean-spirited, mate-abusing, and deviant monsters. That's probably why they don't procreate, like you say, because they actually can get very abusive with their mates even. And there's also a far murkier issue of the so-called panda curse.
What is that? That's interesting.
To this one documentary, it pointed out that a number of world leaders who received panda were soon forced out of the office.
Oh,
and
interesting.
that happened with Richard Nixon. That happened with Britain's Edward Heath. That happened with Japan's Kakue Tanaka. So
I bet our Prime Minister Najib Razak didn't expect that. Actually,
he probably didn't know about the panda curse.
Yeah, he probably didn't know, but it's probably a sign. I don't know, but if for those who believe in the curse, it could be a sign that his term might not be that long.
And it would probably be a coincidence for us because, as you know, we are kind of going through a political turmoil in the country, and even in the last elections, it was all about ubah, which has even become like a forbidden word to say in Malaysia. So I guess it coincides with the pandas coming in, and well, who knows? Well, what it could lead to?
Yeah, who knows? Let's just see whether the curse is actually working or not for our countries. So that's all for our time for our ASEAN Breakfast Call dialogue.
Yeah, I think that's all the time that we have, though I'd love to talk more about this.
Yeah, there's so many to discuss about panda diplomacy, from the panda itself to the strategic interests of why panda and why Malaysia in the beginning. So anyway, we will continue tomorrow with more exciting discussion and interviews at our ASEAN Breakfast Call.
Yeah.
I'm signing off. Bye.
Bye-bye.